Kung Fu is originated in China. It is the ancestor of karate and jiu-jitsu. It's more of a complete system and it's more fluid.
What if everything you thought you knew about Bruce Lee's death wasn't the full story? The world was stunned when the greatest martial artist of all time died without warning, at just 32 years old.
Bruce Lee, the world-renowned martial artist and filmmaker, passed away just before midnight.
Jet Li, a martial arts icon in his own right, has always admired Bruce. But now, he's revealing something that could change how we see Bruce's final moments forever. What did Bruce's death mean for the next generation of fighters like Jet? And what secrets about that tragic day have remained hidden until now? Stay tuned, because what we're about to reveal will shock you. Bruce Lee's mysterious death and the impact it had on the martial arts world. Before we take a deeper dive into the relationship Jet Li had with Bruce Lee, we need to first talk about how Bruce Lee died and how much his death affected the martial arts world. Bruce Lee died on July 20th, 1973, at the young age of 32. His death was so unexpected that millions of people across the globe were extremely shocked by it. Fans refused to believe it at first. How could someone so fit, so powerful, simply die without warning? It didn't make sense. That day, Bruce was in Hong Kong, preparing for a new movie titled Game of Death. He had gone to the apartment of Taiwanese actress Ting Pei, reportedly to discuss the script. Almost immediately after Bruce arrived at Betty's, things started to go wrong. According to Betty, Bruce complained of a headache. She gave him a painkiller called Equagesic, which was a common drug at the time, and he lay down to rest, but Bruce never woke up. By the time help arrived, Bruce was unresponsive. He was rushed to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, but it was too late. Bruce Lee, the dragon himself, was gone. The official cause of death was listed as cerebral edema, which is basically swelling of the brain. Doctors believed Bruce had an allergic reaction to one of the components in the painkiller, which triggered the swelling. His brain had swollen to a shocking 1,575 grams, which was about 13% larger than its normal size. But that explanation didn't satisfy everyone. Almost immediately, rumors began to swirl. How could a young man in peak physical condition die from a simple headache pill? It didn't add up. Some speculated that Bruce had been poisoned, probably by a rival in the martial arts world. Others whispered that he had been cursed, which was a theory fueled by Bruce himself, who had once told friends he believed a family curse would take him before his time. This idea gained even more traction years later when his son, Brandon Lee, also died tragically on a movie set in 1993. That's not all. There were also those who believed Bruce's death was linked to his intense training. Bruce was known for pushing his body to the limit, and sometimes he did it to dangerous extremes. Just a few months before his death, in May 1973, Bruce had collapsed during a dubbing session for Enter the Dragon. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors diagnosed him with cerebral edema. They managed to reduce the swelling, and Bruce recovered, but the incident was a warning sign. He didn't slow down, though. He continued to train harder than ever, working on his new movie and maintaining his rigorous fitness routine. Some wondered if his relentless training had put too much strain on his body that had led to his sudden collapse that day in Betty's apartment. Others wondered if certain gang groups, such as the Triads, were responsible for Bruce's death. Regardless of the cause, one fact remained: Bruce Lee was gone, and the world was left reeling from the aftermath of his death. As expected, Bruce's death created a massive void in the martial arts and film industry. He had single-handedly brought martial arts into the global spotlight, shattering stereotypes about Asian actors and changing the action genre. Bruce's death also brought up a strange era of Bruceploitation, which was a period in the 1970s when filmmakers were desperate to capitalize on his fame. These filmmakers cast look-alike actors with similar names like Bruce Lee and Dragon Lee in cheap knockoff movies. It was a bizarre attempt to keep Bruce's image alive, but it only revealed how irreplaceable he truly was. At the same time, Bruce's death forced the martial arts world to confront the harsh reality of the physical toll of extreme training. Many martial artists began re-evaluating their routines and realized that even someone as strong as Bruce wasn't invincible. In the years that followed, Bruce's legacy only grew. Schools dedicated to his fighting style, Jeet Kune Do, popped up around the world. Martial artists studied his philosophy, not just his punches and kicks, but his belief in adaptability and self-improvement. Martial artists like Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and Donnie Yen have all credited Bruce as a major influence. Without Bruce breaking down barriers in Hollywood, it's unlikely these stars would have achieved the same level of global success. Jet Li, in particular, who made his film debut 9 years after Bruce's death, felt Bruce's impact deeply. Keep watching to discover how. Jet Li's connection with Bruce Lee. For martial artists like Jet Li, Bruce's death was deeply personal. Jet was only 10 years old when Bruce died, but even at that young age, he felt the loss. Jet, like many others, admired Bruce not just for his fighting skills, but for what he represented, being a Chinese hero who stood up against injustice and made the world pay attention. When Bruce died, Jet was still a child, but his journey in martial arts had already begun. He was enrolled in a wushu school by the age of 8 and quickly became a prodigy. His talent was undeniable, and by the time he was 11, he had won his first national championship. People started calling him a martial arts wonder kid, but no matter how much praise he received, Jet never saw himself as Bruce Lee's successor. In fact, Jet has always been humble about comparisons to Bruce. He has spoken openly in interviews about how Bruce's legacy paved the way for martial artists like him. Without Bruce breaking down Hollywood's barriers and changing stereotypes about Asian actors and martial arts films, it's unlikely Jet would have ever had the career he did. Jet's first movie, Shaolin Temple, was released in 1982, which was a full 9 years after Bruce's death. The film was a massive success in China, and it made Jet an overnight star. Audiences loved his blend of grace, speed, and power, but even as his fame grew, Jet always reminded people that Bruce had been the trailblazer, and he mentioned that Bruce inspired him to be who he is today. One of the most interesting things about Jet's connection to Bruce is how different their fighting styles were. Bruce created his own martial art called Jeet Kune Do, which was a fluid, adaptable style that broke traditional rules. Jet, on the other hand, was trained in wushu, a more formal and performance-based martial art. Despite these differences, Jet deeply admired Bruce's philosophy. Bruce didn't just teach people how to fight, he also taught them how to think. Jet emphasized self-expression through martial arts, as he believed that fighters shouldn't be bound by rigid techniques, but should adapt to their surroundings. Jet took this to heart and often said that martial arts are not just about strength, but about understanding yourself and your opponent. When Jet finally broke into Hollywood with Lethal Weapon 4 in 1998, he once again found himself linked to Bruce's legacy. Western audiences were quick to draw comparisons as they regarded him as another Chinese martial artist taking Hollywood by storm. But Jet always handled these comparisons with respect. In many ways, his success was another way of honoring Bruce's legacy, not by trying to replace him, but by continuing the journey Bruce had started. Was there any specific thing Jet did to honor Bruce's memory? Stick around because you don't want to miss what we're about to reveal. How Jet Li has honored Bruce Lee's legacy. One of Jet's biggest tributes to Bruce came in 1994 when he starred in Fist of Legend. The film was a remake of Bruce Lee's 1972 classic Fist of Fury, in which Bruce played Chen Zhen, a martial artist seeking revenge after his master is murdered. Bruce's version was powerful, filled with intense fight scenes and a strong message about pride, oppression, and justice. When Jet stepped into the role of Chen Zhen, he didn't try to imitate Bruce. Instead, he modernized the character while keeping Bruce's spirit alive. Jet has mentioned in interviews that playing this role wasn't about replacing Bruce, but about honoring him. He wanted to show that Bruce's message of strength, pride, and resistance still mattered, even decades after his death. Jet's Fist of Legend was a huge success.
Created a movement like a physical, like a drunk guy,
right.
Physically, but mentally it's very clear.
Many critics and fans consider it one of the greatest martial arts films ever made. The fight scenes were masterfully choreographed, blending Jet's wushu skills with the raw power that Bruce had embodied in the original. But what made the film even more special was that it wasn't just a tribute, it was also a continuation of Bruce's legacy. Things don't end there. Apart from Fist of Legend, Jet has honored Bruce in other ways throughout his career. One of the most important ways he has done this is by continuing Bruce's mission of making martial arts a respected and admired discipline around the world. Bruce didn't just want to make action movies. He wanted people to understand the depth and philosophy behind martial arts. Jet has carried that mission forward by promoting traditional Chinese martial arts and educating audiences about their history. Another way Jet has paid tribute to Bruce is by following a similar path in Hollywood. Before Bruce came along, martial artists were usually cast in stereotypical roles like silent assassins, sidekicks, or nameless henchmen. Bruce changed that by demanding leading roles where he played strong, independent heroes. When Jet made his Hollywood debut in Lethal Weapon 4 in 1998, he followed that same path. He refused to take on roles that would make him look weak or that would diminish the image of Chinese martial arts. Even in his personal life, Jet has honored Bruce's ideals. Over the years, Jet has become more than just a movie star. He has become a philanthropist and a promoter of martial arts education. In 2007, he founded the One Foundation, a charity dedicated to disaster relief, healthcare, and children's welfare. This follows Bruce's philosophy of using strength not just for personal gain, but to help others. Bruce believed that martial artists should be warriors in both body and spirit, and Jet has embodied that belief by giving back to the community. Jet has also worked hard to keep Bruce's image and contributions alive for new generations. He has spoken about Bruce in interviews, ensuring that young martial artists understand just how important Bruce was. He has also supported events and exhibitions dedicated to Bruce, further spreading his influence. Fans of both martial artists often discuss what might have happened if Bruce had lived longer. Would he and Jet have worked together? Would they have shared ideas, trained together, or even co-starred in a film? It's impossible to say, but what is certain is that Bruce's spirit lives on through Jet and through every martial artist who was inspired by him. Jet Li may never have met Bruce Lee in person, but their connection is undeniable. Bruce's influence shaped Jet's career, his understanding of martial arts, and even his approach to life, and in return, Jet has spent his career keeping Bruce's legacy alive, not by copying him, but by building on what he started. Bruce Lee's impact on the martial arts world is eternal, and as long as martial artists like Jet Li continue to honor him, the dragon will never truly be gone.
Ting Pei. She is a famous Hong Kong actress and she was a close friend of Bruce Lee's. Some even speculate she was Bruce Lee's lover, and actually in this interview she confirms that she indeed was Bruce Lee's girlfriend at the time.
July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee died tragically at the age of 32. The official cause of death, a fatal reaction to aspirin.
On July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee, the martial arts legend whose lightning-fast moves and larger-than-life personality captivated the world, suddenly died.
Iconic martial arts film star Bruce Lee. He died unexpectedly at age 32.
For decades, mystery surrounded his tragic death, until now. Ting Pei, the actress who was with Bruce during his final hours, is breaking her silence and revealing how Bruce really died. What really happened on the day Bruce died, and how did Betty react to his death? What Betty revealed will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Stay tuned, because what you're about to discover will leave you completely shocked. Ting Pei's relationship with Bruce Lee and her revelation about his death. Before we get into Ting Pei's account of how Bruce Lee died, we need to first understand who she was as a person and her relationship to the iconic actor. Betty Ting Pei was a well-known actress in Hong Kong during the 1970s. Even though she was an actress in her own right, Betty was actually more famous for her relationship with the legendary martial artist and actor, Bruce Lee. Her relationship with Bruce Lee has long been the subject of speculation, rumors, and controversy. Some believed that they were close friends, while others insisted they were lovers. Betty herself later confirmed that she and Bruce Lee had been romantically involved, but how did they even meet in the first place? Well, Bruce Lee met Betty Ting Pei in Hong Kong during the early 1970s. At the time, Bruce was at the height of his career. His movies, such as The Big Boss in 1971 and Enter the Dragon in 1973, had made him an international star. Despite his fame, Bruce was known to be a deeply private person. He was married to Linda Lee Cadwell, with whom he had 2 children, Brandon and Shannon.
I am Linda Lee Cadwell, and I was married to Bruce for 9 years from 1964 to 1973.
Betty, on the other hand, was making her mark as an actress in Hong Kong's film industry, known for her beauty and talent. The two began their friendship, which later turned into a romantic relationship, as Betty confirmed in an interview years later. Then, on July 20th, 1973, something incredible happened. Bruce Lee visited Betty Ting Pei at her apartment in Kowloon, Hong Kong. The purpose of the visit, according to Betty, was to discuss an upcoming movie project. Bruce had been working with Raymond Chow, a film producer, on this new project. Raymond Chow picked Bruce up from his house earlier that day, and they drove to Betty's apartment. But when Raymond saw Bruce that day, he noticed that Bruce looked unwell. Bruce seemed tired and far from his usual energetic self. It was unusual for Bruce Lee, who was always known for his remarkable fitness and vitality. Betty later described how Bruce seemed out of sorts during their meeting. He complained of not feeling well and asked for water and later a painkiller. At some point during their meeting, Bruce Lee took a painkiller that Betty provided. According to her, it was a common aspirin that was widely used in Hong Kong. Bruce had been known to take stronger painkillers in the past due to his intense physical training and the strain it placed on his body, but he did not have his usual medication with him that day, and the aspirin he took had little effect. Feeling increasingly unwell, Bruce decided to lie down and rest in Betty's apartment. He went into her bedroom to take a nap, but unfortunately, he never woke up. Betty became concerned when Bruce did not respond after some time. She tried to wake him up, but he remained unresponsive. Worried about his condition, Betty called Raymond Chow, who returned to the apartment. Raymond also tried to wake Bruce, but it was clear that something was seriously wrong. They contacted a doctor, who arrived and attempted to revive Bruce, but his efforts were unsuccessful. At this point, an ambulance was called, and Bruce Lee was rushed to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Hong Kong. Despite the medical team's best efforts, Bruce Lee was pronounced dead later that evening. Now, we know Betty Ting Pei's account of Bruce's death.
She also confirms what she thinks is the reason that Bruce Lee died.
But is this really how the sensational actor died? Keep watching, because what we're about to reveal will blow your mind. How Bruce Lee actually died. On the day Bruce Lee died, he was busy working on a new film project. The movie was called Game of Death, and Bruce had been putting a lot of effort into it. That morning, Bruce met with Raymond Chow, who was his friend and producer. Raymond later said that Bruce seemed fine at the start of the day, but he also noticed that Bruce looked tired. Bruce had been working extremely hard for a long time, and he was known to push his body to its limits with intense workouts and long hours of training. Despite his incredible physical fitness, Bruce had faced some health issues in the months leading up to his death. Just 2 months earlier, on May 10, 1973, Bruce had experienced a medical scare. While working on Enter the Dragon, he suddenly collapsed in a bathroom at the Golden Harvest studio in Hong Kong. Bruce was rushed to the hospital, where doctors found that he had suffered from cerebral edema, which means there was swelling in his brain. The doctors managed to save him that time, and he recovered, but it was a warning sign that something was wrong. Some believe this earlier incident was connected to his death 2 months later. Like we said earlier, on the afternoon of July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee went to the apartment of Betty Ting Pei, a Hong Kong actress. Betty was a friend of Bruce, and they were meeting to discuss the script for Game of Death. According to reports, Bruce started complaining of a headache during their meeting. He asked Betty for something to help with the pain, and she gave him a common painkiller called equagesic. This medication was a combination of aspirin and a muscle relaxant. After taking the pill, Bruce decided to lie down and rest. A few hours later, Betty noticed that Bruce had not come out of the bedroom. She went to check on him and found that he was unresponsive. Betty tried to wake him up but was unsuccessful, so she called Raymond Chow for help. Raymond rushed to the apartment and also tried to wake Bruce, but he remained unconscious. They called a doctor, but by the time the doctor arrived, Bruce's condition was critical. An ambulance was called, and Bruce was taken to Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Sadly, when they arrived at the hospital, Bruce Lee was pronounced dead. The official cause of Bruce Lee's death was recorded as cerebral edema, the same condition he had experienced 2 months earlier. The autopsy report stated that his brain had swollen significantly. A normal human brain weighs about 1,400 grams, but Bruce's brain weighed 1,575 grams, which showed how much swelling had occurred. The doctors believed that the swelling was triggered by a reaction to the painkiller he took earlier that day, but not everyone accepted this explanation. Some people wondered if the medication he took was to blame, while others thought there might be more to the story. Bruce was known to have used painkillers in the past due to the physical strain of his martial arts training, but there was no evidence to suggest he was addicted to them. The pill he took that day, equagesic, was a common medication and not considered dangerous for most people. Still, doctors believed that Bruce might have had an allergic reaction to one of its ingredients, which caused his brain to swell. Another factor that might have contributed to Bruce Lee's death was his lifestyle. Bruce was extremely dedicated to his work and his martial arts practice.
He was an action hero, a cultural icon, a martial arts legend on the cusp of superstardom.
He followed a very strict diet and exercised intensely every day. While this made him incredibly fit, it also put a lot of stress on his body. Some medical experts believe that Bruce's body was under constant strain, and this may have made him more vulnerable to health problems like cerebral edema. Bruce also had very little body fat, which some believe could have affected how his body handled medication or stress. Over the years, many theories have been suggested about how Bruce Lee died. Some people have speculated that he was poisoned by Betty, or that his death was part of a conspiracy. These ideas are not supported by evidence, but they continue to be discussed because of Bruce's fame and the mysterious circumstances of his death. Another theory is that Bruce died from heat stroke. This idea comes from the fact that Hong Kong was very hot on the day he died, and Bruce had his sweat glands removed from his armpits earlier that year. He had the surgery because he thought it would look better on camera, but some people believe it may have affected his ability to cool down his body, leading to overheating and brain swelling. Despite all the theories, the most widely accepted explanation for Bruce Lee's death is that it was caused by an allergic reaction to the painkiller he took. The combination of his past health problems, his intense lifestyle, and the medication created a perfect storm that his body could not handle. While it is impossible to know for sure what would have happened if Bruce had not taken the pill that day, many experts agree that his death was a tragic accident rather than the result of foul play or a conspiracy. Now that we know how Bruce really died, did his death affect his legacy in any way? Stay tuned to find out. Bruce Lee's legacy after his death. Bruce Lee's legacy after his death has grown far beyond what many could have imagined during his lifetime. Even though his life was short, ending at the age of 32, his influence as a martial artist, actor, and cultural icon has lasted for decades. Bruce Lee's contributions to martial arts, films, and global culture have left a deep mark, inspiring people in many parts of the world. His name is still celebrated today, and his ideas continue to impact fields such as fitness, cinema, and personal development. One of the most immediate effects of Bruce Lee's death was the success of his films. In particular, Enter the Dragon, which was released just 6 days after his passing on July 26, 1973, became a huge hit. The film introduced Bruce Lee to an even wider audience, especially in the United States, and cemented his status as a martial arts legend. Enter the Dragon was one of the first movies to showcase martial arts on such a large scale, and it helped popularize the genre worldwide. The film earned over $400 million, making it one of the most successful martial arts films of all time. It also inspired a new wave of martial arts movies and actors, many of whom credited Bruce Lee as their role model. That's not all. Apart from his movies, Bruce Lee's impact on martial arts as a discipline was profound. He developed his own fighting style called Jeet Kune Do, which means the way of the intercepting fist. This style was different from traditional martial arts because it did not rely on rigid rules or forms. Instead, it emphasized flexibility, efficiency, and adaptability. Bruce believed that martial artists should use what worked best for them rather than sticking to one fixed style. After his death, Jeet Kune Do continued to be taught by his students, and it has influenced countless fighters, athletes, and instructors around the world. Bruce Lee's legacy also includes breaking down barriers for Asian actors in Hollywood. Before Bruce, Asian actors often faced stereotypes and were limited to minor roles, but Bruce's charisma, talent, and on-screen presence helped change this perception. This paved the way for other Asian actors to gain recognition in Hollywood, including stars like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Donnie Yen. Statues of Bruce have been erected in cities like Hong Kong, Los Angeles, and Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina. These statues serve as reminders of his global impact and the love people have for him. Bruce has been inducted into numerous halls of fame, and his contributions to martial arts and cinema are celebrated regularly. Even decades after his death, Bruce Lee remains a cultural icon who is admired by millions. Thanks to the efforts of his family and the continued admiration of his fans, Bruce Lee's influence remains as strong today as it was during his lifetime. The Iron Palm. Bruce Lee's hands were weapons forged through rigorous iron palm training. This practice involved striking surfaces like heavy bags, wooden boards, or steel bars, toughening his skin, muscles, and bones to deliver incredible force without injury. Lee also focused on speed and precision, combining relaxed muscles, core strength, and targeted accuracy. His drills included knuckle push-ups, grip tools, and kung fu dummies to refine his technique. The result was indestructible hands capable of brutal force. He was a master at both the martial arts and mental aspects of martial arts, as shown in his Iron Fist story. You'll appreciate what we will show next. Speed too fast for film. Bruce Lee's speed was so extraordinary that it outpaced 1960s film technology. On the Green Hornet, directors struggled to capture his lightning-fast movements, forcing him to slow down for the camera. Lee could deliver 9 punches and 6 kicks in a single second, an astonishing feat that set him apart from other martial artists. The speed and precision of his strikes had no match throughout his lifetime, catching rice grains with chopsticks. Bruce Lee's reflexes were mysterious. He honed his skills through unconventional training, like catching airborne rice grains with chopsticks. This exercise demanded precision and speed, enhancing the lightning-fast reflexes essential for martial arts. Unfortunately, it was not recorded on camera. Still, according to sources close to him, his training discipline made such feats possible and inspired moments like Mr. Miyagi's fly-catching scene in The Karate Kid. Lee's creativity and relentless pursuit of excellence in every combat detail continue to surprise and inspire martial artists today. Fighting blindfolded. Bruce Lee's blindfolded fight shows his unbeatable skill and spiritual connection to martial arts. He defeated a skilled karate master who boasted victory against a sightless opponent. Lee won, relying on instinct and precision, proving martial arts required more than physicality. His win also symbolizes strength. It was a philosophical statement on discipline and mastery. Lee's ability to maintain composure while blindfolded still baffles martial artists today. Bruce Lee's The Family Man. Bruce Lee balanced a thriving career with a loving family, displaying dedication to his profession and personal life. He shared his martial arts passion with his wife Linda and children Brandon and Shannon, even teaching Brandon from a young age. Despite his intense workload, Lee remained grounded through his family's joy and support. His untimely death at 32 was a tragic loss.
On July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee died tragically at the age of 32.
But his legacy as a devoted family man and martial arts pioneer continues to inspire. We kept one of the best Bruce Lee moments for the last, and what he did would genuinely inspire you. Secret fight with Lei. Bruce Lee privately fought actor Lei after a public challenge in Hong Kong. Initially reluctant, Lee agreed, defeating Lei decisively at a police detective's estate. Witnesses described Lee's movements as supernatural, overwhelming his opponent. Despite his clear victory, Lee kept the fight private, respecting Lei's reputation and upholding martial arts ethical principles. Do you think Bruce Lee was human? Who's to say there will be another like him in the history of martial arts? We'd love you to share your opinion in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channels. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.